What's going on, guys? This is Kosty with PickDawgz here with Eric for episode number 27 of Tales from the Ticket. We are just in the meat and potatoes of all the seasons, almost there. But as always, we're here to bring you strategies, education, tell you some stories, make you laugh. And at the end of the day, we're all here for the same reasons, to make you guys money. What's going on, Eric?
Just waiting to get the show on the board. Couldn't do anything this morning workout-wise outside because it is some nasty Baltimore weather. I guess the Ravens don't have to worry about that since they're in sunny Miami this evening.
Yeah, Lamar's back. That guy is back.
Are you still calling him La Marvelous?
Yeah, listen, the guy's top 3 best player in the NFL for a reason, regardless of the record. They still have us as the favorite to win the division. I mean,
Right.
What team with 2 wins versus a team that is 2 or 3 games behind? I think they're 2 games behind the Steelers now, not 3. Still has a shot to win the division. It just shows the odds makers know something. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters. So take it one game at a time. But listen, I watch NFL for entertainment. I don't really care that much from a betting standpoint to focus on just NFL. Honestly, it's every sport that with an edge that we're going to actually make money with, whether it's NBA, college basketball, college football, or NFL. You got to put them all together to generate a formula of long-term growth, right? So, we're cognizant of our systems. We're cognizant of the groups that we represent. We understand. I mean, like, one, we're following a very large sports fund right now, and we're going to hit streaks. We're going to hit downturns. We're going to hit drawdowns. We're going to hit streaks and momentum the other way. There's always going to be volatility when you're trading and betting sports because, listen, at the end of the day, bad beats happen. Good beats happen.
Well, so what I was going to say is there really is no bad beat or good beat if you really want to technically think about it, because since it's a two-sided market, there's a buyer and a seller, right? There's the guy that is going to win. There's a guy that's going to lose. So if you're going to make the assumption that every game is 50-50, which in reality, every game is 50-50, that bookmakers really, again, the average person, and we've talked about this 1,000 times, you can throw a dart at the board just put a blindfold on and just throw the board, bet 100 games, with no knowledge of sports, you're going to go 50-50. So the reality is, it's a bad.
We're talking about good. Yeah, but no, you're talking about the game winning and lose. I'm talking about the outcome of the last play of the game becomes a good or bad beat. Not saying in general, winning or losing.
Depending on what side you're on.
Depending on what side. But I'm saying if
you had Miami. So like, for instance, if you had Miami, Florida last week, which Al and I talked about on video, it was 4th and 2. There was absolutely no reason for them to not take a knee. They ran it in for no reason and covered. If we had Miami, Florida, it was a good beat for us. The guy that had the dog, Stanford was up 7-0 in the beginning of the game, covering the entire game until the last play of the game. So, yeah, for him, it's a bad beat.
Yeah. I mean, but it's how do you psychologically know you don't? What the coach is going to do in that instance. You don't. You can't predict that stuff, right? There's data, there's analytics going into the game, and then you just let the game play out, whether it wins or loses, right? But then when you're watching it, and those guys that are watching it going, if they were on the Stanford side, they are saying to themselves, why are you trying to score? There's no reason for you to even run a play. You could literally knee and end the game. Maybe an injury happens.
So Al said it's because they wanted to run up the points for the rankings. It helps them to run up the points.
It does help them run up the points.
So that was Al's answer.
It was also backups in there because if they wanted to run up the points, they could have had the starters in there. some could say that that's a reason for them to leave the starters in because it's the best on best guaranteed to get you those extra points. But it was all backups, and they weren't even running the ball. That's the other thing. They were throwing the ball. So it was one of those games where some coaches look at it and say, no, I'm not going to put my players in a position where somebody can get hurt and have a season-ending injury and knee it and just move on to the next game. But because Miami is in the spot where they are in that contention for the playoffs, it became a good beat. But, I wanted to personally, I don't think we've interviewed a lot of people on this show over the last 26 episodes. We didn't actually do an interview on you before. I know it's coming out of left field. This is just how the show goes. There's no script. There's no.
You all might get a little scared.
It's just whatever comes to mind, and that's the authenticity of what we do. I am interested because you come from the school of not game watching. You come from the school of not knowing player stats. You come from the school of lines, math, and connected sources in this industry because you've been doing it for so long. So, which is an anomaly. I would say that less than 1% of the people that purchase our products on PickDawgz.com, you are one, literally even less of a percentage in this industry to do what you do without knowing anything to do with sports. Because even the David Millers of the world who doesn't watch games could still rattle off and tell you most players on most teams, what the outcomes were, what the scores were, who they played, against they played, where these guys went to college. So I want to give the fans an understanding of how much of a unicorn you are, because I'm not like that. I could tell you, I could rattle off players. I could do data. I'm more of a hybrid, right? But let's start from the beginning. So how did you fall into this industry? Because everybody has a unique story of how they got into it, because it's not something that you go to high school for and say, Mom, I'm going to be a sports syndicate broker when I grow up, right? So how did you get into it, and what led you to be where you are today?
Well, in the old days, I just happen to have one here on my desk. What is this? This is a business card. And I was in eighth grade. And one of my buddies, she gave me a card. She was working part-time. She was female. She was working part-time. She was a year older, so she was already able to work, and she was answering phones at this business. And they gave her cards, and they said, go to your high school, and if anybody that has a big mouth, not knows about sports, anybody that's extroverted, anybody that's, the class clown, anybody that's not shy, just hand them this card. And the card was very simple. It said, if you like sports, and it had a picture of a football and a basketball and a baseball, and it said, want to earn $500 a week talking about sports, call this number. So she hands this to me. She goes, I don't know if you know anything about sports, but I know you have a big mouth. Seriously. And I called the number because I didn't have a job at the time. And I was 14 years old. In Maryland, you need a work permit to actually, and I was in eighth grade skateboarding, didn't even have my license yet, right? So I called the number, and they just happened to be less than a half a mile from my parents' house. So I skateboard over. I go in. It's like the movie Boiler Room. There's 40 guys on the phone. They're all smoking cigarettes. Back then, there's no not smoking zones. There's a cloud of smoke. You can't see anything. And this lady's just like, I said, yeah, Michelle gave me this card. Her name is Michelle. I'm still friends with her. They gave me this card. And she's like, have you ever worked before? I said, no. She said, are you shy? I said, no. She goes, can you read a script? I said, sure. I was already like doing theater in class. I always joke that if I wasn't in this business, I would just get my SAG card and be an actor, right? So she's like, let me have the guy come out and interview. The interview goes like this. Read this script. Show me you're not scared to read it. I read it. He goes, all right, you're hired. You can come back tomorrow. That was it. Done. So for a year, I'm skateboarding to this place. I'm answering the phone and I'm given a list every day when I walk in. Lions, Redskins, Colts, whatever it is, right? When the guys call in this number, you're going to answer this phone number. This is the service line. This is not like logging into PickDawgz.com and getting your selections. This is the service line. What they don't tell me is that I'm going to get the brunt of a good day or a bad day, how nice they are when they ask for that day's games. So this is kind of like putting you through there's no selling information. There's no talking about packages, nothing. So, if these guys went 5-0 the day before, you'd walk in, there'd be a chalkboard. Duke, my employer, who then becomes my partner, Duke, puts up all the games on the board. He's a handicapper, very well known in the industry, affiliated with all the big syndicates like the Computer Group and the Kosher Boys and Mike Levitt, all these guys. And I go and the guy answers, hi, I'm calling for my picks. And I would just, I'd have him read them off the border. And that was a year of just having, and you start building relationships because they know, hey, Eric, hey, I'm calling from, man, Duke, he stunk it up last night. He was 0-5. Oh, I like to rip his ass. And then, oh man, Duke's, he's, hey, Eric, how are you? And then it was like, and then there would be like superstitious gamblers. And I'm getting an hourly wage. And can I send you a tip? Because, I feel like, I said, dude, they're not my games. I'm not making the picks. Now, at this point, there's no line on the screen on the first down. There's no first down markings. So I'm 15 years old. I'm 14 years old. Never made a bet in my life. Unlike you, not gambling as a child. Unlike Al, who started betting when he was 13. Knew nothing, didn't care. I'm an X Games guy. Even to this day, I'm a skateboarder. I was then into BMX. Now I'm into cycling. Always the extra sports, the sports you wouldn't bet on, right?
You mean what you're saying is you need wheels.
I need wheels. Very good. I need wheels. So then I went to Ted and I said, tell me about the game. Like backstory. And then you can ask me a second question because we could spend an hour on just this part. My father came to this country when he was 40 years old. He's an immigrant. Never, some immigrants like your father got immediately into American football. Some immigrant men, just soccer so in my household, we were never brought up watching American sports. It was soccer or nothing. So by the time I got the job at 14, I wasn't a guy that was into football. I wasn't watching American baseball. I have an immigrant father who speaks 5 languages. It's living in 2 alternate universes. Now, the irony is we'll get to you when we enter. I'm a first generation American while you are an immigrant. So you know it, but you guys did the opposite. You went all in on the American sports, but that's a whole nother. So I had no knowledge. I didn't even know. Listen, Kosty, I didn't know what a fucking first down was at 14 years old. That's how sheltered I was to American sports.
And I don't think at 14 I knew either. I mean, here's the thing, because
my son could,
because I was a first generation, I was an immigrant. So uniquely, my parents never put me into one recreational league. Right. So like,
nor did I.
Right. You raise your kids now, you're putting them to Little League baseball, Metro, soccer, lacrosse, all these things, right? My only way to play sports was go outside and play. And once I got to high school, then I saw, man, Friday night lights, there's this huge football field outside. I don't play soccer. not really good at basketball. My size, I was like, let me try football. And all of a sudden, all I had to do was, I was really good at run to you and tackle you.
Right.
Put this guy at linebacker. I was really good at running through people and putting them on the ground. And then all the other stuff came with it. But
well, before your next question, I'm going to beeline the short version. The short version is go from being a clerk to Duke is doing, back then there was local sports TV, so we didn't have like ESPN. He had a show called Duke's Football Report, and he would go on. It was pre-recorded on Thursday when all the lines came out for Saturday and Sunday, and it was a handicapping show, and he needed somebody on there. So now 4 years later, I'm still there. I'm now a junior customer service representative. I'm still the guy with the big mouth that's not shy. He throws me on TV at 18. So my first bit of media.
Did you already have the beard or no?
You can go to ericpathy.com. There's nothing to sell there. There's a picture of me when I was 25.
There's no beard in that picture.
25 years old in one of the sports. So because I was very comfortable in front of the camera starting at 18, I mean, listen, on 9/11, I was on every Tuesday. It actually wasn't Thursday. It was every Tuesday. We would go to the studio in New York on the train from Baltimore to New York to record. And I was literally on the train. It was the day. Yeah, the day it was during 9/11. For whatever reason, I don't know what day it was on a Monday. I was on the train Monday. I believe it was Monday or I can't remember. We could look it up. But I was on the train. They stopped in Delaware and they didn't let anybody go further. And I was going up to record an infomercial. So at 18, I'm just using the Amtrak back and forth, New York, Baltimore, New York, Baltimore. Then we would record at Home Team Sports, which was in Washington and Bethesda. So by the time I'm like 19 years old, I've already had hundreds of hours in front of an actual real camera with somebody standing behind the camera, which is why me doing videos is like, I don't even think. You and I know I don't even, there's just like, I do my daily videos with Al and I do my own daily videos. It's like no teleprompter needed. Just go. You know what I mean? Then I start getting into, well, how do you guys pick these games on the board? I'm like, I took a little break. We can get into that if you want. If not, we can just skip over that. I come back to the company. And it doesn't matter. You can ask me any question you want. I come back to the company after taking a little siesta. And then I start asking, well, how do you make the picks? And I would see, all the 60-year-old guys in the back room talking about this player and that player, the stuff, I don't care about. And then, Billy put a lineup on this, and Johnny made the number this, and Al made the number this, and Vic made the number this, and Duke is the one making the final say. No, I made my line this because he's a line maker. He's making the lines before the lines come out. So to end this to the next question, 50% of our business was not selling picks. 50% of every dollar that came in when I started at this company that I now own was selling Duke's line to the bookmakers, his sharp number. Just like Danny Sheridan made a line a lot, and bookmakers would pay him instead of for a screen back then, what's your line? Then they would see the line that Vegas put out, and they would compare his line to his line. Of course, Duke was, yes, Larry Dukart from Baltimore, Maryland. Yes. The whole industry started in Baltimore, not Vegas, believe it or not, because we're in the horse racing capital. We're 5 minutes from Pimlico Racetrack. So you have this, the largest beside New York Jewish community in Baltimore, and Italian and Greek community, right? We have Greek town, as you know. Peter Angelos owned the Baltimore Orioles. H&S Bakery, Pataraka, everybody. So between the Greeks, the Italians, and the Jews, we had gambling. Go ahead.
So now you're in your 20s. Now you're past when, obviously, you didn't mention this, but Duke passed from pancreatic cancer. Now you're running.
Yeah.
your own operation, and it starts to flip a little bit. We went from line making and offering your own line on the game, and other handicappers would call in and purchase that outlaw line,
Correct.
to now you're starting to position yourself with these different professional betting groups that are now the technology age has come about, right? Kind of like when we met, it's just started where technology started to play a bigger role. You were connected and you were going to Don Best to record.
So I was, for all the viewers
so
out there, I was flying back and forth to Las Vegas basically every other week for about a decade straight. Basically, the only break was COVID. Basically, COVID stopped. And what COVID taught me was you could do everything remotely. And honestly, people thought this was luxurious and this was fun. Every other week, you're flying to Las Vegas. Ooh, when you work, man, every place is the same. If I'm inside an office in Las Vegas, or if I'm inside an office in Baltimore, or if I'm inside an office in Hawaii, may Mitch rest in peace, it doesn't matter. Like, work is work. So this whole like illusion of like, that's why I couldn't stand when I would talk to a client. He would be like, you're not in Vegas, you're in Baltimore. Like, I had less information because I wasn't in Vegas. Because if somebody called a guy on the phone and said, yeah, this is Johnny from Vegas, they would think it like meant something when it meant nothing. Go ahead.
Well, and before we jump into another question, something you said made a lot of sense to me. So I've recently watched, there's this podcast where a big time bookmaker that was in relation to the Otani interpreter made a lot of points about what happened. He's kind of writing his own documentary, right, and it was pretty fascinating. I just kind of wanted to hear it. It just popped up on one of my scrolls, right? And he had mentioned, he goes,
you talking about Matthew Boyer?
Yeah. So yeah, he's like, look, I've had a lot of clients over the years. Nobody wins in sports betting when they do parlays. I've seen a gazillion of my clients lose when they do oversized wagers. The only way to win betting sports is the nerdy way. It's the enticing or exciting. Goes, these professional betting groups, they're not sexy when they bet. That means there's no hype. There's no 300,000 bet my super lock, bet my max bet. I think that's more for marketing. But the problem is people don't want to treat it like a business, no matter what. And we've been having this conversation with clients for 20 plus years where they want to. And I'm just trying to figure out the psychological change that happens because what we do is completely the opposite of sexy when we bet, right? So you've been teaching this for a long time. Why has none of that changed in the last 20 years since you've been more on the connected with the sharp betting group side? Why do you think it hasn't changed?
Well, it's interesting. So, just not to get off track, but you would think that you would have more business bettors in a legal environment with 39 states. Got to remember, guys, I'm in this business 39 years. I say this, and I don't think people close your eyes if you're watching this. Imagine you're 14 years old. You get a part-time job in high school. You open your eyes 39 years later, and you're at the same place. I am totally in that only one person category. Nobody. I mean, I just look at my own daughter. She's 17. She's already had 5 different summer jobs. Come on. So you got to understand what's interesting is I was in charge of dealing with the high rollers because Duke didn't want to travel, and I would fly and I would meet them and I would wine them and I would dine them. And what's interesting is that now I can speak for now. Here's the difference. Back then it was all credit bookmakers, like the guy you just watched. You're going to get your legs broken if you don't pay. So you better pay. You better be a serious bettor that is betting within his means, not out of his means. The problem now is with the legalization, and I don't want to use the word problem because there's really no negativity. It's just the world we live in today, especially if you're watching this and you live in a legal state where you're inundated with the commercials, is there's no barrier to entry to open up a sportsbook account. So the reason why you have mass losing at a large grand scale is because the whole industry, I'm saying legal industry, is designed to take advantage of those in the lowest socioeconomic level that want to try to basically use sports betting as an alternate version of playing a scratch off or a lottery ticket. So when you understand it's the same person that's buying a lottery ticket or a scratch off that's betting those parlays, this is the issue at hand. Like the governments didn't all of a sudden have moral authority and say, oh, now we bless gambling and marijuana, which is now legal also in pretty much every state, right? You have a 17-year-old and a 20-year-old like me. It's really a wild environment to live in when they already, like everywhere they go, every corner, there's this dispensary and a sports book. Nice country, right? So the emphasis on the gambling is they don't want the whales. Brad, who sent me an email yesterday. This is a perfect example. And I'm not going to name the sports book that sent him this email, but he sent me an email and I can bring it up here. It was wild. Basically, it was, if you have any shot of winning, you're considered a professional bettor and we're going to limit you. That's it. Right? They want the guy that's going to lose. So what's changed is basically you've made it accessible to everybody. You go to my website or you go to my product page at PickDawgz, right? I'm sending everybody away. I don't want to deal, and this is not to be disrespectful. There's so much wealth in this country where I can deal with high net worth individuals that are treating sports wagering as an alternate form of investing, like their crypto, like their options trading, like their futures trading, like their commodities trading, that don't care about the day-to-day humdrum. That why do I need to deal with a guy? I had a guy call me up last week, and then I'm going to let you go to the next question. Call me up last week, and he said he screenshotted me his deposits into his legal sports book for the month of October. This was on the 26th. He had deposited $36,000. He had a zero balance. And I said to him, did you deposit $36,000 into the account? I discussed this on one of my videos. And he goes, no. And I said, that's what I thought. He was we call it a micro deposit bettor. 500, 1,000, multiple times a day, lose the early game, add a, and then you don't realize it. It's just click, 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 like an adult video game. So I try to shy away from working with those people because those people are basically playing the video game of betting as opposed to the business of betting. So the answer is what's changed and why there's so many more losers than winners. There were more winners back then is the legality has actually allowed everyone to take part. Even if you open up a trading account, a Robinhood account, or a Thinkorswim account, or an Ameritrade account, or any of these accounts, right? The reality is nobody's sticking in $100 5 times a day to trade stocks.
Well, I wonder, and this is a question for you because maybe you see it recently. I've never seen it in trading accounts, but of late, let's say you're a VIP client with any of the legal sports books. You blow your account out. Those hosts are sending you free bets. 500 no sweat, 500 no sweat, bonus.
And a sharp, and the difference is a sharp won't even take a bonus.
So, but there are no questions asked. They're not rollovers like they used to be. They're just flat bets, right? You're basically given money to bet because they want you back in the system. Do you think they do that if you have an Ameritrade account and they go, here's $5,000 for you to trade for free?
Of course not. But what they do is there's the pattern day trading rule, which I always wish we had in sports betting, which is you can't get margin, which is 4-1 on your money. Like you can't bet on credit unless you post up a minimum of 25,000. So what happens if a stock trader posts up 24,000 in his account, he can only trade 24,000. If a stock trader posts up 25,000 and maintains a balance of 25,000, he has $100,000. He has 25,000 plus 75,000 in credit, where yes, you can get a margin call and owe that. But the point is, they're basically saying, if you can't even pony up a quarter, we're not giving you the other 75. And in the sports wagering world, what happens is most gamblers that lose all have one thing in common. They're micro depositors. So for instance, like I was talking to that gentleman with 36,000. He said, man, I'm going to go online and buy your dime club for a week for 500, and I'm going to try to build it back up. And I said, well, what does that mean? He goes, well, I got 1,000 left to my name. I'm going to pay you 500, and I'm going to start with. And I said, if you pay the 500, I'm refunding the 500. I will not take your money. End of story. Do not call me till you have $10,000 to put in your account, and you better screenshot me the balance so I know that you actually did a wire or a crypto or whatever you did for 10,000. Otherwise, I'm not interested, because you're giving me no gasoline in the engine. You're giving me no. If I give you car keys to a car with a quarter tank of gas and say drive 500 miles, it ain't working. I don't need that nonsense. Yes, there's other people on the internet in this business, the hype, which we can get into, of course, would take the guys 500, and they do what's called OPM, gambling with other people's money. But back to, I don't want to, you got anything else for me?
Well, now I said at the 30-minute mark, we're going to go over some questions from the fans. So let's start there. The first one, uniquely, was a good one. When's the beard shaving happening?
As long as mom's not watching this live. So here's we have it.
Do we have to whisper?
She would never watch this, so don't worry. No. So my brother is flying in from Atlanta on November 8th, Saturday. I'm going to pick him up from the airport. My twin brother, we're fraternal twins. And he's going to pick me up and record me shaving the beard. And then we're going to have a surprise birthday party for her that evening. And then, even though her birthday is on Wednesday, 11/11, it'll be technically the 8th. So what I decided I'm going to do is I'll let the stubble go to the 8th, because I'll get your beard in 3 days that you have now, right? It's like really not a lot of work to grow this. And then I'll shave on her actual birthday again, so I'm smooth. And then I'm just not going to shave till the next 11/11.
You're going to do it every 11/11?
No. So what I'm saying, no, now I told her 80, because we made a joke. You make it to 80, I'll shave the beard. Now I'm going to press her. You make it to 85, I'll shave the beard. So but what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a yard. They call it a yard in the beard world. So this is a trimmed beard, right? It's not ZZ Top. I'm going to do a year and not touch it.
It's going to look ridiculous.
It'll be down to like here. No, man, I'll put the stuff in it.
Okay.
But I'm saying it'll be down to like here after. It'll be funny. But what's cool is you see these people on these Instagram shorts where they do the time warp of the videos. With me, it's different. You get to see the time warp in real time, because I'm going to do my daily videos with Al, and I'm going to do my daily video for myself. And then I'm just not going to shave. The only thing I'm going to do is line up the cheeks.
You should time hop it some, or do that little reel.
I'll let the crew at PickDawgz figure that out at the end of the year.
All right. Next question. How do you handle line flip in games? Knowing who opened as a favorite or underdog is important to me, but when they flip, it rattles my handicapping.
I mean, again, I don't want to. I'm trying to say this nicely. It's important to you because you think it's important. It's not important. That's the reality. It's not important. You're talking about a guy that started out with an actual line maker, right? The opening number means shit, because here's the reason why. The opening number is just to throw something out into the pond and to see which way the sharp money moves the line. The way the line moves is important right off the opening number. So in the old days, for people that don't understand this, in the NFL, we'll talk about the NFL. They had something called the lottery. All the sharps would line up at Binion's and all the downtown sports books. And they would stand in line on Sunday at like 9 a.m., which is 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. And they would get the opening number in the NFL games for the following week. And they would have first dibs to go in and make their bets. And they would push the line, right? Push the line. So now it doesn't matter. If you just key off Pinnacle's number or Circa's number, it doesn't matter what the actual open was. It matters where did it immediately go from the open. So,
well, you did this with Micah. There's actually a really good video for anybody that wants to see it.
They can send me. I'm not going to.
We literally recorded.
So I've got
betting screens. Go ahead, Eric.
So it's a 15-minute video. The gentleman can send me a message on Telegram because it's a 15-minute video. I can't drop it in iMessage or text. At Eric, ERICPATHI. Just put the word video. I'm not going to try to sell you anything. Just boom, drop the video. I've had like 40 guys already send me a link video. What's interesting, Kosty, and then you can continue, is that I've sent the video out to like 40 people.
Yeah, but what is the video about?
It's showing you how we move the number. When you see a line on the screen move, you don't know who moved the line and why. But how about the fact that we move the line? When I say we, our syndicates move the line, not handicappers. And that's the big problem, is there's not a complicit understanding between handicapping and syndicates, which I discussed on today's video. If you go and watch it at PickDawgz, the 10:30 video. So it rattles your handicapping because you think it matters, and it doesn't matter. That's the answer.
Here's another question. Is placing another bet on top of your original worth it when the live odds give you a better number?
So again, you're making the assumption that somebody's staring and watching the game. So again, we have so many different crews that we deal with. The reality is, again, if you're betting to make money, you're in two camps. You're a live bettor, or you're a pre-market bettor, or like me, a pre-market / halftime bettor. Let's see, Massimo just sent me a thing, and my second half wagers, I'm 10-3 on my second half wagers, very sparingly. So again, when you're asking a question like that, you're going back to stuff that basically, respectfully, is a tell that the person's not making long-term money. When I say long-term money, what I mean is, how much money did you make from October 30th of last year to October 30th of this year? The answer is you probably didn't make any money. And what you're doing is you're using sports as a method of entertainment. And what you're doing is you're spending hours watching games, trying to live bet, thinking you're getting the better number. Remember, I come from the old school pen and paper world where you bet it on an old telephone and forget it, right? When I'm saying these syndicates were making hundreds of millions, no live betting, nobody's doing second half wagering. Johnny, give me blah, 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 click. What's your name? What's your number? Number 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, because they didn't have names, they had numbers, and then it would go down the rotation number. Give me 378 for 5 dimes. Give me 219 for 10 dimes. Give me 6. Guys, go back on YouTube, Google Billy Walters 60 Minutes. I think it's like a 13-year-old video. Our good friend Kenny White's in there. Watch the video. See what these guys do. It's trading. So this live betting is for losers. Sorry. You're not a loser, Jojo. It's just for losers. Unless you're a guy like Dave Miller and you have millions and millions and millions and you got
I think the only people that successfully trade live are looking at expected value odds.
Let's talk about the live odds. What he said is not actually true. So let's actually elaborate. There is no live betting. It's a scam. There is no live betting. It's a scam. Do you want to answer, or do you want me to answer why it's a scam?
Go ahead.
It's never live. You're watching it on a delay. If you watch any channel, you watch a football game and you see a team is plus 400, and then you're looking up and they haven't even snapped the ball yet. And then you see the team is now minus 150. You know that he connected with the receiver.
Well, everybody already knows if they follow DraftKings, if they follow legal betting apps, the betting apps are ahead of the things that they watch.
Exactly. So therefore, it's not
live.
Right. So therefore, what you're saying is actually false. There's only one way to be live, and that's to physically be at the stadium live. And if you're not going to get on a plane and fly to Miami because you're a Ravens fan like Kosty, you're not going to be able to live bet the game tonight, really live, unless you're there or a buddy's there. But even by the time the buddy tells you you lost 2 seconds in the line move.
Right. So it's not really live. Correct.
It's not live. It's an illusion of live.
Go to the next question. How do you handle an unusual streak in favorites covering the spread in the NFL? Last 2 weeks and have been 20 of 28 favorites covering. It's a better, and as a bettor who tends to lean underdogs, it's been a tough time. Well, one, Eric will tell you there's no such thing as a streak. There's no such thing as a streak. It's not the last 2 weeks.
There's only a streak in a same game series. 3 World Series streak, 3 game, 4 game. Other than that, there's no streak. This is, again, your mind trying to make a chain link fence out of things that aren't connected. What does one game in one geographic location have to do with a game in another geographic location? So I understand the odds. I have all the numbers right in front of me. I know exactly what he's talking about. Now, here's where it's going to end the season. 50-50. That's your answer. The answer is how you handle it is you already know that there's going to be a reversion of the mean. You pull the rubber band and it snaps back to the center, right? It's like the bell curve theory in math. So in essence, there's nothing to handle. If you're having a hard time handling it, first of all, unless you're only betting baseball, because if you watch my videos, you already know my stance. There should never be somebody that's tending to lean towards underdogs or lean towards favored. That's an issue with your the issue is that you're supposed to wake up every day and be agnostic and have a blank sheet of paper. Is this number right or is this number wrong? And again, it's too much for somebody that's not paying somebody. And again, this is not to sell you anything. This is why everybody loses, right? Because the reality is 90% of this battle is what's in between these 2 ears. That's it. It's the concept that you have now decided to lean in one direction. Do you think the sports books give a shit which way you lean? You think they care which way you lean? Lean my ass. lean on the couch. Lay back. You know what I mean? It's like, who cares? There is no such thing as leaning. The reality is, I'm looking at the numbers right here. And the reality is, currently right now in the NFL, if you've bet every favorite, you are 69-51-1. Now think about that. You're talking about the last 2 weeks. That's 57%. 57%. That's all it is. So you have now lost, and I'll do it real quick, 51 times 1,100, 56,100 minus 69,000. You're up 12,900. So you're up 12.9 units if you bet every favorite. Well, if you bet every dog, you're only down 12.9 units. Now let's talk about the reality. If you're betting 1% of your bankroll and you started with 100,000, you're down 12,900 exclusively betting every dog. It's 12.9%. It's like zero. It's a rounding error. So the reality, when you're having a tough time, the reason why you're having a tough time goes back to why all the gamblers lose is because money management. Betting too high a percentage of your bankroll. So you take something very small, 2 weeks of little data, and you try to make a molehill into a mountain. And if you watch the videos that I do with Al or the videos that we've done with David Miller, what do we always talk about? 1,000 game sample size, right? People ask me for data all the time. 1,000 games. People start telling me I had a good night last night. I want to vomit. I could care less. I had a bad night last night. I don't want to hear it. So go ahead.
Yeah, the whole psychobabble of nightly results is so insignificant in the big scheme of things. So insignificant. But everybody, no matter, I'd say the majority of the people that we talk to.
Oh, Massimo, I got a shout out. Massimo, he said, have we spoken about how great the Blue Jays are yet? Go Blue Jays. Everybody knows
Oh, yeah. We do have a lot of Canadian clients, so
I fucking
congrats.
The
So far,
Dodgers.
you're one game away.
Congrats. I have said since the beginning of the season, the worst team to bet on would be the Dodgers. Never proven wrong, always right. Told everybody on yesterday's video, like I could have been, trying to give out free system plays for free and just said every day, Toronto. You bet Toronto, you don't bet the game. Now, obviously anything can happen, but the reality is the issue is, for me, not about Toronto being awesome. For me, is about favorites being shit. So.
What's up, Stanley? He said, how do you determine where the sharp money is? So this is a skill set, Stanley.
Is this our Stanley?
Yeah, it's our Stanley.
Stanley, I FaceTime Stanley?
No.
Oh, different Stanley.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is a very unique skill set where
put
guys
put the comment back up so I can read it while we're talking. So first of all, this is the problem. It's not about a skill set. So the short answer is you can't. That's the answer. You can't. You have no idea. That's the answer.
Well, I'm saying the people that do, it's a unique skill set.
No, but the people,
the sharps that we deal with,
they're not going to tell.
Elite,
right?
Mathematical geniuses,
but
that have a unique skill set.
Remember that guy who had the beard? He used to do the infomercials. He said, "But wait, there's more. There's more." The reality is, not only can you not tell, if you watch that old interview on 60 Minutes, a lot of these groups phony up the line in arbitrage and they bet both sides. So they move the line purposely one way, because what is illegal in the stock market is not illegal in the sports market, which is stock manipulation is a crime. Sports manipulation is just sports manipulation. A group can come in if they have a number and Vicky, Vic the bookmaker, who's also a bettor, says, I'm making my number at 7.5. And the line is now 6.5. And he says, flood the market on the favorite. And then once it hits 7.5, come back and take the other side. Boom, go the other way. So what happens is you're allowed to do that in this market. And there's sharps that do that on totals. There's sharps that do that on, it's called phoning up the line. You could watch that in the old 60 Minutes interview where you're arbitraging. Now, I'm not saying it's not effective unless you have millions and millions of dollars and you can withstand juicing out repeatedly, right? Because what you're trying to do is you're trying to phony up the line, but only lay 110, where a square bettor doesn't phony up the line and buys points. And the second you buy points, you've lost. You can't win buying points.
How do y'all?
Hey, Brandon, I sent him the link. I actually sent Brandon the link before we went on air. We were talking. So let's talk about Brandon. So Brandon is a client of Big Al's premium service. And Brandon sent me a text message. Hi, Brandon. And he sent me a message. And he, where is it? Mississippi. There you are. He said, I have a question bankroll wise. How would you suggest a client handle his unit sizing right now during the tough variance? I know 1%, but during a tough variance, would you suggest changing the unit size so you can handle all upcoming volume during a volume downswing? And what I said to him was, if you added up all of Al's plays last season, you made 97 units after the juice on this little form that I sent them, Kosty. So yeah, you're in that instance, I'm a believer that if you're not variating the units, that you don't change the unit value and you work off the principal balance and you just keep rolling, because again, it doesn't really matter. You're never going to go to zero because we already know that Al, over long term, when you're flat betting, let's say Al, you're 57%. You're never going to lose money. And the way you're going to lose money is increasing your bet, trying to chase the losses. So if Al goes 0-4 last night on premium, which he did, it's all publicly listed, he loses 4%. You just keep it the way it actually is. What I said to him was, you will, as we know, you're going to have higher variance with the unit system, but more profit, right? So, you make 550 units last year versus 97 units, but the roller coaster ride is different. And then the way you handle that is you change.
Well, and remember that with that product, Eric, I think it was second week of December last year.
He was it was second week of November. He was November 16th. That week,
there was a 2-week
I
period. Yeah,
it was November 16th. He went 16-29. Straight.
What about the units?
Way worse. But then made it all back in 3 weeks. Like literally lost 50 units one week, made back 50 units the next week, then won 40 units, then won 50 units, and he literally flipped around. But again, this goes back to at 1%, you're safe if you're flat betting. So like Micah's syndicate, we have a client. He was down, I think it was like 60,000, and now he's up 90,000, betting $3,000 a game. Think about the variance of this flip in like a 3-week period, minus 60 plus 90. But he's working on a $300,000 bankroll, betting 1% per game. So the 3,000 sounds like a lot till I tell you the cash in the account is 300,000. So at 300,000, he's down 60,000, right? He's got 240,000 left. He doesn't change his unit value to 2,400. He just keeps rolling like he has 300,000. Because you remember the worst case when you're talking about variance is 50%. Like this is what people forget. The difference between winning millions and losing is 5% when you're flat betting. Like if you're a sharp like Al, and you're betting high volume, I sent them a sheet of 975 games. So let's talk about college basketball. Al was 379 and 279. But you're making the assumption, he won 379 games and he lost 2.
And then he lost, right.
How about he could have lost 30 games in a row of that 279? Like streaks are just part of that variance, but you're never going to enjoy the 379 and the 279, because I'm looking right at PickDawgz.com right here. It's right on the website, on the leaderboard. So you got to look in the rear view mirror to see how you got there. While you're doing it, you just forget about the money. Now, what's interesting in the trading accounts, Kosty, is that you can turn off your P&L. So when I trade, my P&L is turned off. So I don't see my cash. I don't want to look at the cash. I just want to know I'm making a trade for a right reason. I don't care about the P&L. You can't do that in the sports betting account. So everybody gets obsessed with the P&L. It's like almost take a piece of Scotch tape when you open up your app and cover the top.
Well, it's not even just that. It's we are in such a unique space where we are traders in the sports space where most are not. And because we're so desensitized to winning and losing, the general client that we have is rooting in the game from the hours of 7 p.m. tonight to 11 p.m. tonight, watching every single play, right? Whether it's on their phones.
Well, and then there's
trading, if you're you're not focused for 4 hours. Like right now, the market's open. You're not sitting there watching every single second, obsessing about predicting the outcome of that particular trade.
I mean, just think about the last 4 Thursdays, right? We talk about it every week. 4 weeks ago, Bitcoin was at 107. Then it went back up to 115. Guess what? Now it's at 107. If you're in, you're in. If you're out, you're out. There's no point in torturing yourself and watching it. But again, the problem goes back to not only is it winning and losing, then it's the how you won and lost. So like, what was it, that Portland game, that last game that Al lost? They were up like 12 the whole game from what I was told. And then after the fact, they just came down, they win by 2, laying 3. Okay, you want to talk? Does it change anything? Because that's what happened. Which, or like, did I need to watch that? Or do I just care about the bottom line? The score. Funny story back to Duke. The first TV show that I did, you know what the name of the show was? The final score. Nothing else matters. How you got there does not matter. It's a zero-sum game. What's the score? We don't need to hear the why. We don't need to hear about the how. Blah, 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 blah. I get it. People like this. It becomes part of the fabric of their life. My job, my perfect life would be to turn every sports fan into a sports non-fan.
Won't happen. But you could try. You could try your best. It's not going to happen. We have done very well for years. The worst situation that and unfortunately there's no shying away from it, is when you have a new client and it's that new client out of the gate loses.
But it should be irrelevant.
Because in the world of handicapping, those clients don't get to communicate with their handicapper. So because we're in a unique business where we communicate and treat our client like our friends, like, look, my wife, she's hilarious. She goes, you know, on my text message, I have all my clients pinned at the top, not my friends, not my wife, my clients. She goes, why do you have all those people pinned at the top? So those are the people that I communicate with every day.
Exactly.
I treat my clients like my friends, and I'm always responsive, whether it's midnight, 7 a.m, always giving them feedback. Living the life, living what we do and preaching it is one thing, but actually doing it every single day. And for the guys that have been with us for years, they know our consistency. We're literally here 7 days a week, 365 days a year. I don't think there's any other industry professionals that will provide the type of service that we do on top of the actual selections that you're getting. So we're very unique. We're in a niche market, and we're too transparent, which again, we turn away more people than we actually.
So that's what I was going to say, is that unfortunately, if I had the game of the month every day of the week, you know, I would have 300 clients instead of 30 clients. But you don't, if you work in a Ferrari dealership, you're not selling 300 Ferraris a month, you're selling 30. So you just have to know your lane and stay in it. I am dealing with high net worth individuals that want to treat their wagering as an alternative form of the stock market. And if the stock market goes up and down, or the crypto market goes up and down, the sports market goes up and down. So when you say it's unfortunate, and I'm not trying to be like disrespectful to you, I don't say it's unfortunate. If the client actually processed what I was saying prior to joining, it doesn't matter if the first week is a losing week. It doesn't matter if the first month is a losing month, because he already knew that I only care about the long game, not the short game. And if he's chose to say, yeah, and then show his true colors when he loses, because I had a client freak out on me last week because of some game loss. I said, you always know how strong constitutionally a gambler is off losing. I like to see how gamblers react when they lose. If they're disrespectful, if they're motherfucking you, if they're calling you names, if they're threatening you, acting like all kinds of nonsense. I already know that I have a guy that you're never going to make happy, because that guy's going to be overly happy when he wins, and he's going to tell you you're the greatest guy in the world and he loves you. And then he's going to tell you you're a piece of shit and you're a scammer. And the best is I was talking to Al about this. The best is when you lose and you get the text or the email, you're a scammer, man. You must be working for Vegas.
Dude, that's my fit.
Like,
why? What is
Vegas? Al, we're laughing.
Where did that come from? Like, why do you think that dropped like 10 years ago and it kept going?
I said, do you ever get those? He goes, hold on. And he goes to his phone and he's reading.
So it's funny, like you said earlier, because you didn't operate from Vegas, you were less than, right?
Right.
So now it's, we work for Vegas doesn't control the line.
Do you understand?
Newsflash, it doesn't control the line.
Newsflash. The only thing that matters in the sports betting industry and has only mattered and forever will matter, ever, is the East Coast, right? Do you guys understand that like 80 cents of every dollar since the beginning of sports time back in the 1900s comes from the Northeast, right? Do you understand that that desert is absolutely fucking irrelevant? Irrelevant. Zero relevance. No sharp wants to live in that shithole called Las Vegas. Trust me, I was living there every other week. Now, nobody wants to live in hell on earth, right? It's nice to go to, it's nice to have fun. And now I don't need to take my kid when he's 5 years old to a sliding board that's covered, because if it's not covered, he's going to get 4th-degree burns on his ass. Are you kidding me? There is nothing in Vegas. Now, you guys get the pop and the illusion because I get it, the whole casino movie. I even use them in some of my shorts here at PickDawgz, but it's absolutely irrelevant. What's relevant is where my mother was born, Sheepshead Bay. What's relevant is the Bronx. What's relevant is the Queens. What's relevant is Southie and Boston. This is what all this West Coast bullshit is. And in no disrespect, if you live on the West Coast, you're always late to the party. You're watching old news when you wake up. The world started 3 hours before you. Every sharp in the world is, look, Al lives in Los Angeles, but Al works like he's on the East Coast.
Right.
So therefore, he sleeps like he's on the East Coast, because living on the West Coast is actually has its positives and its negatives. But when you're working the game, I mean, man, I used to go to the office at Don Best at like 4 a.m. Like there was no like, oh, I get to sleep in. So this whole like, because the only thing that matters is the sharp money's coming in on the games here on the East Coast, right? Look at the population center. You have everybody on the Northeast, you have everybody in Southern California, and then you have nobody in the middle. Like that's it. I'm not trying. Look, I have family in LA. I have family in Vegas. I have family in Arizona. I love it. I love going there in the wintertime when it's night. But no, hell on earth doesn't give you any edge. That's for sure.
Well, there we have it. 1 hour of power, as we always do. Feel like we could stay on here for hours talking about this stuff.
Hours.
This is how we live, and we're just
unscripted. So what I would say to this,
content.
is this. I would close with a little sales pitch. Admittedly, if tomorrow's Halloween, first of all, and you have children and you're taking them trick-or-treating and you're standing there and you're looking at your phone at 8 o'clock at night because the games have been on for an hour, you're a schmuck. Stop that nonsense, because it's not going to change the final score. Put the phone away, take the kid trick-or-treating. Don't look at your phone. The scores don't matter. That's the first thing. The second thing is, if you're looking at all the wagering you've done and you're going into the 11th month of the year on Saturday, look at your P&L from January 1st, not week 1 of the NFL season, and say, has all this time I've put into it worth it? And if the answer is no, take a certain amount of money, just like you would open up a trading account. Say, I'm going to fund this account on 11/1, November 1st, and I'm not going to even consider making a withdrawal or redemption till February 9th, which is a Monday, the day after Sunday, February 8th, which is the Super Bowl, and maybe try for once to treat your wagering as a business. And then if you want to call us, great. And if you don't, take the free information.
There you have it, guys. You get sports betting information and how to be an adult with your kids on Halloween. We will be back here next week. Actually, no. Eric will be back here next week by himself. Brad Francis is going to be on. I am actually going to be on a plane, so I will not be available for this next episode. But Eric will be back here with Brad, chopping it up with episode number 28. We appreciate each and every one of you. Later.